10 warning signs of a heart attack, symptoms you should never ignore. Suffering a heart attack is something no one would ever want to go through. It can be a truly painful experience. Luckily, heart attacks don't just happen out of the blue. Our bodies have a way of giving us a sign or two if we can be attentive enough to note these signs. We just might be able to save ourselves from an impending heart attack. In today's video, we'll be looking at 10 of these signs. Make sure you watch the video to the end, as the sign in number 1 is the most important of them all. Number 10, snoring during sleep. A common sleeping condition that could be indicative of an impending heart attack is called sleep apnea. People who suffer from sleep apnea are at higher risk of heart disease and some other cardiovascular challenges. When sleep apnea occurs, it could stop breathing for up to 10 to 20 seconds or even more while a person is asleep. This situation can take place several times during a person's sleep cycle. So what really takes place when a person suffers sleep apnea? In very serious cases, sleep apnea could induce breathing failure, and when this occurs, the oxygen levels in the body are greatly reduced. This results in an immediate surge of adrenaline, cortisone, and some other hormones running through the body. This can lead to a number of serious heart conditions. Also, sleep apnea adversely affects the quality of one's sleep. It increases stress hormones in the body and could ultimately lead to high blood pressure. And that's the real problem. With an increase in blood pressure comes an increased risk of stroke and heart attack. There is some good news though. Sleep apnea can be treated. In very severe cases, medical practitioners typically recommend the use of a device called a continuous positive airway pressure device, also known as CPAP. This device creates pressure in the airway, which helps to overcome both the snoring and the apnea. Number 9, pain in unexpected regions. Many things could cause pain in different parts of our bodies. Usually, when it comes to heart disease, people are most often more concerned with pains that occur in the chest region. Now, while pain in the chest region could often be linked to some heart issues, pain in other parts of the body could also be related to heart disease. According to the UK-based charity British Heart Foundation, heart disease-related body pains could also occur in the calves, in the left arm, the stomach, in the jaw, and on the back of the body. In fact, ankle swelling could also be linked to heart failure. If you notice some pain in any of these parts of the body that cannot be normally explained, for instance, a pain in the left arm when you didn't sleep on the arm, or you've been inactive most of the day, you should seek some medical advice from your doctor immediately. Number 8, dizziness and lightheadedness. So let's be clear, there are many things that can make you feel dizzy or lightheaded. For instance, staying on your feet for long hours or standing up too fast could leave you feeling dizzy. It could also happen if you are dehydrated. That said, when you experience dizziness or lightheadedness alongside some other symptoms, that could indicate heart disease like tightness of the chest and shortness of breath, then in such a case, the dizziness could be cause for concern. More so, if you find yourself frequently getting dizzy, it's vital that you speak to a doctor right away so you can undergo the necessary medical checks. Number 7, fatigue. If you go out for a run, or you are involved in some strenuous physical activity at work, then it's normal for you to be fatigued. If you are fatigued and there is a logical reason why this is the case, then you don't have to be worried. However, there should be cause for concern if you inexplicably feel tired during the day. Lethargy, fatigue, and daytime sleeping are telltale signs of early onset of heart disease. These symptoms could actually be pointers to a lack of sufficient sleep at night, and this could be due to sleep apnea. If you find out that you often experience nighttime snoring, choking, and you frequently find yourself gasping for air, this simply means that there are several disruptions to your breathing while you sleep. In the long run, this will have an adverse effect on your heart, as it'll place it under undue stress. This ultimately exposes the heart to heart diseases, hypertension, stroke, or a heart attack. If you suffer from inexplicable fatigue during the day, you should see your doctor. You may have to undergo polysomnography and home sleep tests to check for sleep apnea. Number 6, chronic cough. When patients suffer heart failure, otherwise called cardiomyopathy, the heart is considered weak. it is unable to keep up in supplying oxygen to the body as the body demands it. This results in a buildup of blood pressure in the heart. Consequently, back pressure also builds up in the lungs. All of these together make them suffer from a chronic cough. The cough worsens when the patient lies flat on his back or when they exert some degree of energy, as this only increases the pressure in the heart and lungs. Number 5. Swelling, nausea, and vomiting. There are many things that could result in swelling or the retention of fluid in the body, but it could also be an indicator of an impending heart disease. Like we explained before, when a patient suffers heart failure, the heart is weakened and incapable of supplying sufficient amounts of oxygen to all the parts of the body. This results in the slowing down of the transmission of blood all over the body. Blood then backs up in the veins and blood vessels, which eventually results in a buildup of fluid in the tissues of the abdomen and the legs. The effect of this fluid buildup is multifaceted. First, it could result in rapid, unexpected weight gain. This causes bloating and abdominal distension. For males, they would find their belt area feeling tighter than normal. Furthermore, the legs begin to swell up, and it begins at the foot to the ankles and further upward to the shins. As the fluid retention and swelling becomes worse, it could lead to some degree of kidney failure. The kidneys become less effective in getting rid of excess water and sodium from the body. Number 4. Irregular heartbeat. One of the most common symptoms of heart disease is irregular heartbeat, also called palpitations. For some, irregular heartbeat could occur as a result of cardiac arrhythmia. These heartbeats are usually rapid or uncharacteristically strong. For a lot of people, heart palpitations are pretty insignificant and could be caused by extra ectopic beats. However, if the palpitations are irregular and they occur very rapidly while being accompanied with other ominous symptoms like dizziness and some fainting spells, it is vital that such a person sees a cardiologist. Also, if these palpitations occur and you have underlying conditions such as hypertension, diabetes mellitus, an overactive thyroid, coronary heart disease, or if you've had a previous heart failure or previous stroke, you might have to do a test to check if atrial fibrillation could be the cause of the palpitations. This checkup is even more important if you're over 65. Typically, patients who have medical issues and are above the age of 65 stand a higher risk of atrial fibrillation. It also leaves them more susceptible to suffering a stroke from the atrial fibrillation. Number 3. Chest pain. Chest pain is almost always an ominous sign, especially when it comes to heart disease. It could be an indicator that there's blockage of blood supply to the heart. This precarious condition is called coronary artery disease. In its severe form, it results in a heart attack. This is why any form of discomfort felt in the chest should not be taken lightly. This blockage of blood supply to the heart is also known as angina. Typically, it manifests itself as a strong feeling of tightness in the chest. It often feels as though the chest is being squeezed, and there seems to be a heavy sensation or pressure felt in the chest. This pressure is also felt on the front of the neck, the upper back, or the upper arms. In some cases, this tightness and discomfort in the chest may be resolved with some rest. But when the patient is under high levels of stress, the situation only gets worse. In some very serious cases, the discomfort in the chest could go on for hours, even the entire day. It could feel like going through hell. For less severe cases, the pain in the chest may only be intermittent. Any feeling of pain or tightness of the chest should be reported to a medical personnel right away. You should seek help immediately at the nearest accident and emergency ward. This is one sign you do not want to take for granted. Number 2. Shortness of breath. In medical terms, shortness of breath is called dyspnea. Lots of people suffer from shortness of breath in various situations, especially people who hardly work out or don't even work out at all. For instance, if you notice that you're gasping for air after scaling a few flights of stairs, that would be normal if the last time you went for a jog was 6 months ago. Nonetheless, shortness of breath can be a serious sign of heart disease. So how can you tell? If you discover that you now develop shortness of breath when you do things that you previously did with ease. For instance, if taking the walk from the office to your car now leaves you breathless and you had no issues doing it for a long time, this could point to a heart condition. When shortness of breath is related to poor cardiovascular functions, It's often a pointer to coronary artery disease. It could also be a sign of a weak heart, also known as cardiomyopathy. Heart valve disease, pericardial disease, and cardiac arrhythmia could also be culprits. Paroxysmal nocturnal dyspnea is a condition where one wakes up from sleep suddenly while suffering a severe shortness of breath. It greatly affects the quality of your sleep, and it's often caused by heart failure. If you notice any of these signs or symptoms, you need to speak to a doctor right away. Number 1. Fainting. Fainting is, unfortunately, a common thing. Also known as syncope, it can be described as a temporary loss of consciousness, often caused as a result of insufficient flow of blood to the brain. It's actually the body's way of protecting the brain when it's starved of the oxygen it needs to function. The body decides to shut down a substantial part of the brain's department that deals with your consciousness. You can think of it as a form of load shedding in the brain, or like restarting a computer. While many other health conditions can lead to fainting, it can be a serious sign of a heart disease. When the heart beats too slowly or too fast, it could result in fainting. Fainting could also occur due to an enlarged or weakened heart that struggles to supply enough oxygen to the brain. A tear in the aorta or muscle damage in the heart could also be reasons for heart failure. If you ever suffer a fainting experience, you should have a medical checkup immediately to ascertain the cause. Many people overlook fainting as one of those things, but this is not safe. An early diagnosis of a heart condition might save you a lot of trouble in the long run. So an early medical checkup is the best practice. Comment down below your thoughts, give this a like, share with your friends, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button and notification bell to keep you updated for more interesting facts, tips, and ideas from Smartville.